Yeah, and I mean, just obviously rewinding a little bit there, as to, I guess, that earlier stage in that employee life cycle. I guess what's quite key to point out there is um, a lot of that is kind of self-service elements. It's removing the pressure on the HR manager or the recruiter to manually have those touch points. And what
Absolutely.
essentially, therefore, is going to do is provide an automated process to capture and grab that information from the candidate, store it within the system. There's obviously going to be some elements that, for example, if it's stored within therefore and you want to migrate it to a different system and there's not an integration there, then maybe there's a manual touch point. So it's not necessarily that it can obviously remove, I think, the majority of that manual process, but even where there isn't, the majority of it is becoming an automated process, and the system is gathering that information from different touch points based on the workflow that's been built into it. And I think in terms of the I think sometimes that's overlooked as the possible efficiency that can be achieved. It's not just a system to store documents in, but it's all the processes around it, where it's gathering information, it's doing things, it's pulling that information, putting it into another product or another system, and it's removing that manual touch point that is necessary.
It is, and that we routinely build into the system, reminders and notifications to prompt people to do things
Yeah.
at appropriate times, because without that sort of automation, things get forgotten or
Yeah.
missed, and then they could be important things. I can remember going back many years, in working in a company where we were supposed to have annual performance reviews, and quite frequently no review happened. And so, as an employee, you then become quite dissatisfied
Yeah.
because you're not getting, you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, how important am I if I'm not being given the opportunity to discuss my performance?
Well, you don't get the opportunity to get feedback on how you can improve. There's obviously not necessarily an opportunity then to do a performance review, and that come with whatever benefits might come about afterwards.
Correct.
So yeah, and that a lot of time that can just be due to a lack of a process.
Uh,
The person doesn't know that needs to occur, and it's a breakdown in that
Completely.
internal
Yeah.
process. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much opportunity, specifically in HR, for efficiency improvements, not just the compliance element and the risk of GDPR and data not being removed in an adequate amount of time. But I think what you touched on was quite interesting there as well. Is this system can be configured not just for that early stage in the life cycle, not just the induction process perhaps for a new employee, which therefore can be configured to do that, to help deliver certain documents, training materials, certain things. I guess as that employee's onboarded, let's say, into the company, but then the continual development as it stores information against their employee file. And correct me here if I'm saying anything incorrect. But how it stores that and how that then develops with the employee as they, as you say, go on from position to position year after year within the company.
Yeah, and you've got all that historic information for as long as you need it on that
Mm.
employee.
Yeah, so there's a full auditable paper trail. You can dig into it. And there's different, I guess, different documents, different elements.
Yeah, exactly.